What's up, you quarantini boppers? You quarantine age dirtbags? You quarantine age mutant ninja turtles? From the quarantine, this is Anthony Frieda. This is BaDumBizz.
Ugh, those jokes. Buzz your girlfriend. Woof.
Yeah, woof indeed. Sorry about that. In this episode, I go through my origin story. Not like Batman or Spider-Man or anything. But you know, how I fell in love with the drums when I was a kid and what made me pursue being a musician. Big shout outs to Rich Aveo. Rich Aveo created the music, this theme music you're listening to. I recorded the drums, sent him the drum track. Then he recorded all this music on top of it. It's fantastic. I couldn't be happier. He did it in like 20 minutes too and sent it to me. He's amazing. Actually, he and his wife, Kat London, she's also a musician. Yeah, they were on the podcast weeks ago, so I can't wait to release that episode. And last shout out is to Lawrence Haber for last week's episode. It was fantastic having him on. There's plenty more with him too, so you're gonna definitely hear more. Yeah, anyway, I hope you all enjoy this episode. Stay safe. BaDumBizz. All right, so I was just thinking before about I was thinking about my early years of like getting interested in drums and stuff. So I think I can identify how old I was when I like started to really feel like a love for the drums. Probably was like 8 or 9. I think it was like 9, 8. Yeah, 8 or 9. Yeah, because I remember. So I remember probably even younger, to be honest. I remember every time I would see the drums in a movie or a TV show. I remember watching I Love Lucy, for instance, and Ricky used to he used to play the congas, but drum set too. But I remember this particular episode when they had little Ricky. That was their son, and little Ricky sat on down at the drums and played a drum solo, and it was good. Or at least I remember it being like it sounding really cool and impressive, and look, and he was a kid. He was probably he probably was like 6 years old or something like that, and just ripping it. And I remember that being like, oh man, I would love to just hit the drums. You know what I mean? Every time I saw drums, I wanted to hit them. Yeah, I just loved the sound. I remember, let's see, I'm trying to think of, like I remember listening to music and just loving the drums. Certain tracks stick out in my mind, I guess. I remember the first time I heard a Nirvana song, and I remember like just identifying with the drums. Oh, that's that song with the awesome drums. Like I had no idea for years, Smells Like Teen Spirit. I think that's what it was. I had no idea for years who Nirvana. I didn't care really that much, but I knew like the song. Oh, I like that song. I mean, this is back in like the MTV days, man. This is like VH1, MTV, The Box. If you lived in North Jersey, you knew about The Box, music video station. But yeah, I'm trying to think of in like when I was like between the ages of 1 and 5 or 1 and 6 years old. I'm trying to think of other things because I'm getting to my main point, which is what really, really romanticized playing the drums in a really cool way and in a realistic way in terms of like entertainment, like a movie or a TV show. I can't think of any more. So, all right. So this movie came out when I was a kid called That Thing You Do. Came out in probably like 96 or 97, somewhere along those lines. Tom Hanks was like the band manager. It was about a band. But really it was about a drummer. It was about the main character was a drummer and, part of his family business and whatever. It was in the 60s. I think that was the time period. It was in the 60s, yeah. And then, but he was a good drummer. He was into jazz. and like they, you know, local band, and their drummer broke his arm, and then they needed to ask the main character, you know, hey, you can play our songs, and they were just, he was bored by them, but he's like, hey, whatever, I don't perform that much, so, and like he hadn't performed in a long time, so he was nervous at the performance, and he oh man, I'm smiling because I just love this scene so much. They're at the it's like the talent show, Battle of the Bands, whatever it was. And this is during the times in the 60s where people wanted to hear rock and roll, but they were hearing more folk, let's say, and just, you know, music that wasn't really like, we'll say, charged, like sexually charged, you know. It had that, a little bit of that angst, you know what I mean, to it, that rock and roll is known for. So Beatles era stuff, like early Beatles era stuff, you know. So anyway, so he's supposed to, the song was supposed to sound like, you know, and it was kind of like a love song, like singer-songwriter thing. It's like, and then he winds up like, and they're like, they started, and they're like, the look on their faces are like, what the fuck? Like, dude, you play it, and then they're going, you play it too fast, and he's just in the zone. Like, he's just in the zone. It doesn't even matter. We're going, you know, and he's just doing, and then they like start playing their chords and start like, it was cool how they recorded it, because it made it sound like they're good enough musicians, but they definitely were startled by that. Like, there's a little bit of like, oh, and then when he hit the first note, and then like the second chord was like just a hair bit like, I wasn't ready for, okay, but here we are, okay. And then they sunk in after like 2 measures, I think, maybe 3 measures or something like that. And then the singer started singing again. It was like a little delayed and a little like he didn't expect to even be singing that fast, kind of thing. It was very good how they did it, very good. And then they just start playing through the song, and it's fucking awesome. The whole crowd in the Battle of the Bands were like not dancing. They were kind of just like off to the side and just like schmoozing with each other, but they wanted to dance because the music was like lame. That was kind of the vibe. So when they started playing, the whole crowd just went to the front and just started dancing. It was really cool. The cinematography of the whole thing was awesome. What wound up happening was like, because it's funny, in the song, that is my favorite performance. Now, you got to keep in mind, they're actors, you know what I mean? So it's like, they trained them they trained them to look like they're playing. How about that? That's what you have to do in a movie, because everything is going to be dubbed. Everything is going to be recorded. Unless they're showing like, and they're recording like just them practicing a tune in the green room or something like that before the show and whatever, you know what I mean? They did a little bit of that, but they made it. They trained them so that they can look like they're playing what the music sounds like. That, and in the best way. Like, I remember being a kid and thinking, no, he's playing that though. Like, I didn't think about recording and how they captured, sounds, how you record drums and then put it together with the recorded, guitar sound and recorded bass and voice. I didn't understand that concept. It took me a long time to understand that concept. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't understand that concept now. I wouldn't be able to do this. Honestly have 8 mics set up. Most of them are on my drums, you know what I mean? So anyway, okay, so, oh my God. I smoked some weed right before I did this. So I'm really like, my thoughts are as open as my God. So I might go on some tangents and then get lost and not know where I came from. So yes, I was talking. The reason why did I go into the? Okay. Oh, okay. That's right. Sorry. So, they did such a good job in making these actors look like they were playing that. I remember going like, nah, but he's playing that. So, all right. So anyway, they're at the Battle of the Bands, and they finish the song. And at the end of by the end of the song, like the guitarist and the bassist were liking it. Like they were into it. They were like, yeah, this is fucking awesome. Like, good job, man. You know, like, and then, but the singer was still like, bitter about it and thought it was a mistake. Cause it was his song that he wrote, you know, and he was like the artsy fartsy kind of like pretentious artist. And they just like to play. So anyway, I'm not gonna. How funny would it be if this podcast were just me, like talking. If I had one more hit of weed, I would be giving you the entire, just talking through the entire movie. You know what I mean? I just go through the whole thing, and then Tom Hanks. You know, I recommend anybody watch that movie because that movie made me want to play drums. Like that movie really made me love the drums. I remember like the song. A lot of people can identify this song because they saw that movie when it came out or whatever. But it's not one of those movies that I will say even with among musicians, I don't find that movie is like one that gets talked about. You know, for that. Like I'm more likely to hear Whiplash. You know, somebody mentioned and reference Whiplash, you know, me being a drummer, and that's a movie about a drummer, you know, than anything else. Maybe, you know, people talk about, what's that movie from the 80s? Or was it the 90s? About the metal band. It's a funny one. Shit. I should know this because I did see it a long time ago. I remember. I'll think of it. So anyway, this is the intro to the song, and That Thing You Do is what, you know. You know, I got excited because I heard that. Oh my God, it's so good. So I remember watching the movie and listening to the drums and seeing him do that and going, wait a minute, what's he doing? And I remember going, okay, his foot's on the bass drum, his foot's on that drum down there. That's the low sound. Okay, so, and I remember working out like, he's doing that with his hands. Okay, and no joke, we had one of those like TV tray tables back then in the 90s. Oh man. And I remember we were watching that as a family, you know, and we maybe ordered Chinese food or something, and I had chopsticks and I was drumming. So awesome. It was so cool. I was drumming on the TV table. Oh man, good times. But I remember being able to figure that out, you know, and I couldn't wait till I saw or played a drum set to be able to, you know, try it out or whatever. And then I remember, you know, so, you know, you have like, you know, you have childhood friends, you know, we had neighbors, these two girls I went to school with. So me and my sister were friendly with them, and we would go hang, you know, they'd come over, we'd go over there, you know, we'd go swimming in the summer and, you know, play in the snow in the winter, you know, play video games, watch TV. I think my sister would, you know how girls are, it's cool. No big deal. But they would, you know, dance to their favorite pop songs, you know, the boys, well, the boy, I was the only boy. I would just go play with action figures and, you know, wow, yeah, they're dancing. It's not Batman. It's not Power Rangers, so I don't like it. Girl stuff. Oh God. So they bought a drum set. I remember. I think we would watch it together. That movie. I think I might have gotten them into, like, they were into it, but their parents decided to buy them a drum set. Now it was one of those kid drum sets. like, one you would see in Toys R Us, but still made noise. I remember going over the house being so excited and being like, can I drum on it? And they're like, yeah. And I remember, hey, do you remember that thing you do? And then I did I didn't even pick up the sticks for that because I don't feel like playing it. But yeah, and then that was, and then I taught them how to do that, and then they were doing it. And that's really all we could play, to be honest with you. I tried like playing by ear, maybe another song I was into, but oh man, that was good times. I recommend watch that movie. That's a fantastic movie for musicians and for just entertaining reasons. Man. Now, something I wanted to talk about on this podcast also is like what do I love about hearing drums? Like that was obviously seeing drums, but what do I like about this? Just the sound. You know what I mean? What really like still fires me up, like when I was a kid, and that kind of like excitement that I get when I hear really just good drums. And I'm trying to think, in that movie, the drums were powerful. They're very commanding. The drummer looked confident, but even the sound of the drums, it sounded like it's hard to talk about because I've never really thought about it. I think there's a certain energy to that, to how the drums are recorded on that song, and that energy is a similar energy to Dave Grohl playing the intro to "Smells Like Teen Spirit," which is essentially this. I mean, that's terrible, and then it's like, I mean, just like really, really high energy sound, great sound, There's an energy to it. There's like an angst to it. I just took a sip of seltzer. That might have been the most gross thing that I could have just done, but I'm sorry. Yeah, there's something about even the drums that I used to listen to Blink-182 a lot. I think during that time when I was listening to them, I think that album Enema of the State, so funny, came out. Because I remember what got me into them was that song, "What's My Age Again," All the Small Things, and Adam's song, and that whole album was awesome. I'll be honest with you. I still am blown away by that album. Like the drums on it, just is incredible. But the songs are kind of cool too, They're fun. They're angsty, very angsty. But there's something with the energy that the way that Travis Barker played with, Dave Grohl played with, and then what seemed to be the actor in that movie, That Thing You Do, which I found out later on, he was trained to play by Billy Ward, who was one of my favorite drummers. He's played with a lot of people, recorded on a lot of stuff, and he's just a cool guy, man. I recommend look up Billy Ward. He's funny, dude. Too, that's another thing. Has a lot of great things to say about the art form, man. Just like about drums. Very fun. He's very funny way of talking about things, but makes great points. I think he changed my drumming for sure when I got his DVD, and whenever that was, I was a teenager, I think. Just was like so good to watch him play. Such good, really good thought process in terms of like setup and whatever. Anyway, I don't know if he recorded those drums. I think he did, but who knows? You know what I mean? But whatever. The drummer from whoever did the drums on That Thing You Do, the recorded drums. I mean, there's this fire and energy to it, and I could say the same. I could say the same about like I remember the Goo Goo Dolls. I remember when that song "Slide" came out. like the drums on that one are really good. Like that drummer, I remember being like, I like the way he plays. Yeah, I remember that. Had that energy, that fire, that angst. Now, there was something about the way that the drums sounded, and it was like how about this? I recognized that it was played well. You know? And I didn't know like the counting system that well at all really then. You know, I didn't understand how to read music really at all that well. I may have been doing right, left, left. You know, and that's where I left off. And maybe flams, maybe like whatever, some sight reading, but simple stuff. And but for some reason, I just knew that from the way it was played that it was accurate or whatever. Like what the word I would use now is like it's accurate and it's the way it's supposed to be done. It sounds professional. It's funny how that's a thread through all of these examples, and I have plenty more. I mean, if I keep going in terms of drums that really like, okay, I recognized, and I remember like not wanting to admit it then, but I recognized when I was that age, like again 9. We're talking about the same things. The things I'm mentioning are within the same like 2 or 3 year time, which is maybe like 97 to 2000 or maybe 96 to 99 or something like that, where these things I'm referencing so like are from that time. And I guess another example of this is, and it was hard for me to admit this then, but the drums on both Backstreet Boys songs and NSYNC songs, I felt them and secretly liked them. You know what I mean? Like, but, you know, I was a boy, like 9 to 10 or 8 to 9 or to 10 or whatever years old. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, the girls are into that shit. You know what I mean? I remember talking to a buddy who's maybe like 3 years younger than me. And, which is not a big deal. Whatever, we're the same age. That's how I think of it. Like, oh, cool, we're still the same age, pretty much. But I remember like the boys being like, ew, shut up, they suck, who cares, you know? And the girls being into the Backstreet Boys and got totally gaga over it, you know, them and NSYNC and whatever. But my buddy was telling me during that time when he's 3 years younger than me, so he was like, man, maybe he was like 5 years old, 5, 6 years old. He said that he remembers being really everybody was into that music. Like even the boys. He remembers going to Backstreet Boys, like a Backstreet Boy concert. He loved it. But it didn't have to do with any of that, the like, it's not like he had a crush, it's not like the boys had a crush. He kind of talked about it. It's like we were just all young, and we even started looking at liking girls or liking boys yet. It was just music. And I guess because, they had like, man, that was, during that time, there was a lot of like, I remember like the Disney Channel was quite happening then. Like they had a lot of musical performances and shit, So I'm sure that they were on that and whatever, connected to that and somehow. I'm sure there's something about the marketing during that time, and maybe they were marketing it to young kids, and I just happened to be part of the age group of boys that wouldn't have liked it, Anyway, I recognize now though. I mean, I have no problem admitting now, like, I still could listen to Millennium, like a bunch of those songs, Backstreet Boys, Millennium. I mean, I honestly think that songs like I Want It That Way, Everybody, what else by them? At least one more by them. I'm trying to think. I like that song. Quit playing games with my heart. I think that beat is awesome in that song. I remember like being in the car and with my dad in his Ford Explorer, and I remember my sister and my mom were maybe in a store, and me and my dad were just waiting in the car, and he had the I don't know if he had a CD in or a tape or something. I think my sister wanted to listen to it because she was into the Backstreet Boys. But anyway, that song was on. Quit Playing Games with My Heart. And I remember my dad, like, I remember him tapping to the beat because it was one of those things where it's like, it's a good beat and you can't deny it. You know what I mean? I think the beat might have been like something like, oh yeah, let me try to recreate it. Let's see. It was like something like a quit playing games with my. Something like that. Something along those lines. Really cool guitar, acoustic guitar thing going on. Yeah, I mean, I remember he was tapping, and then I started tapping. We were tapping on the 2 and the 4, And I remember that's another. Yeah, I remember that I was more accurate than he was. My dad doesn't have it as good of rhythm as most folks. Coordinated dude. It's funny how he's so coordinated. Guy can build you a deck, like in your backyard. Just give him like 10 days. You know what I mean? Because that's what he did when I was a kid. So yeah. Anyway, not to roast him, but not as much rhythm as me. And I remember like I never made fun of him about it. I never said anything to him about it. But I do remember though, like, oh, Dad's missing some of those beats. Oh man, that's funny. Oh man, that's funny to think about. So I remember being anyway, to be able to identify really good sounding drums. I remember in I think it was All the Small Things. There's a part in the song, in the bridge. It's just like like there's no lyrics or anything. There's just like this kind of build up thing. Eventually, it becomes Travis plays this on the snare drum. It's like. And then he like goes into the say it ain't so, whatever the last chorus. I remember that. I remember playing, tapping out this. Maybe I don't even know if I had sticks or not, but I remember tapping out. And I remember going, that's not the same thing though. That's not this. Whatever it was. I remember going, yeah, like it's like he's hitting, I remember he's hitting the first one harder, like, and I remember having to practice, like, how do I, there's the movement of the stick. How do I get that one note louder? And then the next note because it's right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. I remember the next note, like, how do I get that to be softer? And I just remember practicing it for a long time and then being able to do. I remember being in school. I remember this. Being in school. I remember sitting next to some girl who knew what I was doing, like, because we listened to the same music, I guess. And I was like, hey, like 12 years old, probably 11 years old. And I was like, hey, I figured this out. You know that song? She's like, yeah, that's so cool. And it was, and I'm doing that on my desk. And after about a minute or two of that, because it wasn't too quiet, it was loud enough. And I remember we were hanging out in class for whatever reason. Like we were waiting for something, maybe waiting for the rest of the class. Because it wasn't like I was doing it in the middle of class and just not paying attention or anything. The teacher was like maybe taking attendance or something. I don't know. Something like that. I'm doing this. And the teacher just goes, "Stop tapping." just fucking loses her mind on me. I mean, I get it. There are better ways. That was a more teachable moment. There's a better way, but whatever. Who knows what people go through and they're fucking... Nah, you know what? Fuck that. She's a little bitchy about it. Come on now. I'm just a kid. You should go, "That's really cool. That sounds cool." You know, because I was trying to achieve something, you know. I wasn't like I was just, being obnoxious about it. I was making, you know what? Yeah, that's right. I was making music, man. I was making music. Yeah, because if I saw a kid do that, I'd be like, "Hey, that sounds cool. That's actually really cool. Good job. Can you do a little quieter though? Thanks." You know, that's how I would have done it. Anyway, see, that's the teacher in me right there. Boom. That's why I get paid. Notice how I didn't say the big bucks. That's why I get paid. So that sound is why I liked the drums to Limp Bizkit songs. You know, as funny as that is to say, you know, like because that band is a little ridiculous. Back then, they were big. Back then, they were angsty, and that's why the boys liked them. But the drummer John Otto was really good. I don't care what anybody says. Good drummer. Those are good drums on those tracks. I think that's why the first Foo Fighters song I ever heard was their first single release from the third record. What was it? "There's Nothing Left to Lose" is the record, and it was "Learn to Fly" was a single. Great drums on that song, you know. Whatever it was. Great drums on that. And I remember loving that song. I didn't even care that their name was like, who were the Foo Fighters? I didn't care about the name. Again, I was into the song. Then eventually I realized you gotta pay more attention to the name, dude, or else you're not going to be able to find the song or because I remember like wanting to buy music. What a concept. I remember wanting to buy like cassette tapes and then a CD and, you know, eventually I remember when I got a CD player, it was like the biggest deal because it was like, shit, I'm like, this is like how I remember. It's like if you got your own Game Boy, which I did have. I had my sister and I had the old green screen Game Boy. I remember having my own one, right? And I think I had my own one, and but I remember like getting my own CD player and radio thing, boombox thing. Man, boomboxes, that's what a throwback. Those things were awesome. So I remember finally getting one of my own ones, one of those, and being like, that was a measurement of I am getting older. This is like I'm growing. Like this is it's a defining thing to get your own music player in some way, you know, at that age during that time, because it's like you're making decisions about who you are in a way. You're being independent. It's kind of cool. I remember the cool feeling to get. It was like a proud, like I have my own thing. This is so cool. And then from there, you just you grow your music collection. So I had Blink-182, Limp Bizkit. I remember being into Korn, and I had maybe two CDs from them, 2 records from them. I remember being into The Offspring. Definitely was into The Offspring. Yeah, I remember. I remember the angst is, I think, what I think that the angst is what kind of reeled me in, was that Pretty Fly for a White Guy song and the video to it. Yeah, I think that's what attracted me to that band. Excuse me, got a cough. Ooh, heh. All right. So trying to think of one more song or artist that the drums like just reeled me in. I mean, I remember certain hip hop songs or R&B songs. Like I remember, I just didn't identify. I just didn't identify with that music. There was nothing. I guess I was more of the angsty kid, so it makes sense that Limp Bizkit and Blink-182, Korn, you know, um, The Offspring. I think I was into like Sum 41 at a certain point, and Linkin Park. Like it makes sense why I went to that POD, why I went to that music. It was angsty. I wasn't trying to be cool. I actually didn't want to go with what was cool because I just didn't feel, sometimes you don't feel like what's popular. You know what I mean? Not that it's not a statement. I'm like, well, you're not that because you're not worthy of being that. But it was like, yeah, but I don't even care about the worthiness of it. I'm not that. I don't want to be that. You know what I mean? I look at that and I go, oh man, you're just copying somebody, I guess. Which eventually I was copying in my style, the way I dressed, whatever. Eventually I was copying somebody, or maybe not. I don't even know. Maybe it was a mixture. But anyway, I would see especially when I would see somebody like the trend would change and then they would look totally different because they just started wearing like a completely new look within like 3 years. And I remember thinking to myself, that's silly. You know what I mean? But I remember also feeling like the only one reacting that way, which is that's so fucking silly. Like you just totally now we have to accept you. Now you talk and dress and act like this, and we're supposed to just because you did talk and dress like that, and they couldn't be more opposite. So what? We're just all supposed to just pretend with you. I remember that. Yeah. Isn't it funny how I started talking about drums and it led to this? Yeah, this kind of like topic of adolescence or whatever, prepubescent, puberty area, whatever, puberty years of your life. You know what I mean? Whatever. I mean, it's a weird, confusing like time during that time. But some shit gets decided. During that, some ideas get into your head that could either stay with you or stay for a while and then you work them out and whatever, and then you rid them from your life, or they never go away. Yeah, it's cool. This is where we ended up. So, feelings and emotions and shit. But I began technically with feelings and emotions about the instrument that I've chosen to play. So, I think I wanted to bring that up because this instrument, playing the drums is to commit to playing the drums is a swallow of commitment. Like it's almost hard to get down. Like it's like one of those pills that are just, are you kidding me? Those large pills, like, man, because you don't just have to like buy instruments. You don't just have to, have a place to put and play the drums. You don't just have to buy sticks and possibly an instruction book or even get lessons. You have to be able to listen to music some way, which means you need to get music. Listen to it. You gotta have, like, there's so many appendages to it, right? And obviously, what I'm saying is not that different than any other instrument other than the size of the drums and storing them. Yeah, you can't be in an apartment playing drums, man. It has to be a very specific situation to get away with it, honestly, which is what I'm in right now, actually. I got really lucky. But to work as a drummer is tough. There's so many ways to do it, but none of them are all they're the correct way. You know what I mean? You have to make it your own way is the correct way. Nobody could really give you a path to follow because, you know, thankfully the instrument lends itself to, you know, personality and determination, character. And I say thankfully because if you know who Buddy Rich is and you're a drummer, you know that dude had a high level of skill, but he also was a character. You know, if you know anything about him and you've ever heard stories about him, you know, that dude was a serious dude, man. And he didn't take things lightly. You know, he had a little bit of an aggression to him, you know. You hear it in his playing. He had a high standard. He had a hell of a fiery rage of an energy. He's one of those drummers that when you hear him take a solo, for instance, you actually have to shut up and listen. Because you're going to learn something. You're going to witness something, I'll say it, historical to the paradigm of the drum set. Yeah, historical, for sure. And you see him do, and you know, it's funny, even when you see him older, like before he died, you even more want to watch it. Because you'll still learn something. And it's still a piece of history, without a doubt. Yeah, I've never seen anybody play like him to this day. He's one of those drummers that you feel like after he did his solo, like you watch him play his solo and he's just shredding, man. And he's cooking. He's cooking so hard and playing so well and precise and with such a fiery energy that you almost feel like you can't touch the drums because they're too hot. Like you could fry an egg on the drums. And I know that's kind of joking, but at the same time, it feels that real, what I just said. It feels like a reality. Like I wouldn't be able to touch those sticks. Like they would have burn marks on them. And this is metaphorically and physically, because like he's moving so fast. But metaphorically, you know, because the content in which he's playing too, in terms of musically and the accuracy of it is it's on a level that clearly runs on a high amount of fuel or something, or it's like another technology. It's like he has another technology. It's like he evolved as a human, you know. That's where he took it. And I think for as drummers, you know, he set a standard that I don't know if anybody's been able quite in the way that he has, but he set a standard I don't think anybody could reach. That's a legend. That's a legend right there. You know what I mean? But he was able to do it in such a way though that he straddles the line between musical and technical. And he dances on that line. In fact, that line is a wire between two buildings, and he's just dancing across those two buildings on that wire. He'll make it look like he's going to fall, and he just meant to do it, and he grabs the wire with his hand and then pulls himself back up like fucking Spider-Man. Anyway, I went on a long tangent about Buddy Rich because why did I come here? I was talking about being a drummer. Okay, personality, that's right, and character. So the personality and character, without a doubt, Buddy Rich has that. John Bonham, definitely without a fucking doubt, has that. Just go listen to Zeppelin 4. Zeppelin 1 through 4 is really all you need to. I mean, you really should listen just to Zeppelin 1 is really all you need to listen to. But it is cool to hear his evolution too, just from those 4 albums. And then it gets, obviously he gets even better, but after that. But those 4 albums, wow, man. Set a standard that nobody can reach. Okay, character. I'm going to say Steve Jordan. I always think of him because he has such a sound that you can identify with, but also while being a chameleon. Meaning he's a chameleon he could be a chameleon in terms of what the music should sound like in terms of serving the song as a drummer, but also have such a finesse of character, an essence of character on that same beat that he's playing, whatever he's playing, that it's him. It's wild. That's hard. That's fucking hard to do. Which means you need to know music more than you need to know music. You need to be a better musician than a drummer. And that's why he's he's a great drummer in like a regard of that nobody can touch him. That's why he's one of the most recorded drummers, So anyway, let's think of one more guy. Or gal. I'll speaking of gals, man, Annika Niles or Niles. I don't know where she's from, but she's fucking fantastic. She's a hard worker. She plays patterns that I would have to sit down and like work out. Very consistently, she puts out content online of videos of her practicing something that I'd have to sit down for a while to figure out even how to put it together. And then obviously a lot of practice until I was able to do it in time, half as well as her. And the consistency, yeah. And she has a character. Like I can kind of identify her sound, I think. And let me say one more person that's just absolutely sticks out. I would say Carter McLean, I think. Because, I don't know, that guy, this is in terms of character. I'm not even really talking about angst anymore, but I told this story a lot, but I think it's a great story to make a point. And here's the point, is that, all right, well, I'll say the story. Because it's like, the point is like a punchline a little bit, but basically, I was at what concert? I was seeing Snarky Puppy. Speaking of great drummers, but I went to go see Snarky Puppy. Me and whoever I went with at the time, we got there like kind of in the last. We meant to get there right before they went on, basically. So we kind of missed the opening band or whatever. But we walk in as they're playing. They're playing some like slow, funky, like kind of a little bluesy shit, and you can hear that they're just kind of improvising. But it was like, and so anyway, I didn't recognize the sound as any like I didn't recognize the songs. There was no vocalist. But it was good. And I'm listening to the drums, I'm thinking, man, these drums are really good. Now, in this time, I had been like getting into the Instagram drum community and like following a bunch of different really good drummers that I'd never heard of, which was awesome. The last couple of years has been so awesome to see. Like, I have so many new favorite drummers now. And I'm seeing a lot of cool shit, man. I'm very inspired all the time, every day. So this guy who's playing drums, basically, I'm thinking, I think I think I know who this drummer is based on what he's playing and how he's playing. And I'm thinking, you know what? I could be crazy, but I swear to God, that's Carter McLean. And it was my girlfriend at the time, actually. She was like, interesting. How do you know? And then, I just explained, like, I don't know. I hear it in the way he's playing, or in the way the drummer's playing. It sounds like the way he plays. And I remember the crowd, like, I couldn't see the stage because we got there like a little, pretty much when everybody was all in there, so we couldn't see the stage. Thankfully, it was at the end of their set. It's like last two songs of their set. So I waited to the end to see if they would announce, who it was. And it was, okay, this is Charlie Hunter, whatever, trio or something. This person on this, and Carter McLean on drums. And my girlfriend at the time was like, oh my God, that's amazing. You're awesome that you could, like, that's amazing of you to be able to identify that. And here's kind of the punchline, which is, I can't take credit for the work that guy did. That guy worked so fucking hard to be able to get to be himself on the drums that now he is a recognizable sound. So I can't. It's not amazing that I did anything. It's amazing that he can sound unique in modern day because we have so many drummers as references already. As like a sound, as like, to find a nook to sit in for your own name is nowadays as the it's funny because when you think about if we're talking Western music, think about modern Western music. And I mean, anything from the 50s when you started hearing like Elvis, right? Or no, that's wrong. Okay. When you started hearing jazz quartets, quintets, combo groups to now, you can identify drummers, guitarists, bassists if you really have a good ear, or a bass player. In jazz, definitely a pianist, sax, trumpet, in jazz, definitely, without a doubt. Yeah. And it's interesting that in like classical music, if you're not in the classical world, if you're not part of that world and have an ear for it, then you wouldn't know who's first chair, whatever. So yeah, it's that's the biggest compliment I can give somebody, that I was able to identify it was them, but not because they play the same licks or something, you know what I mean? But like they have a sound, the way they interact with the music. And that's where I think, in terms of going back to the topic of being a professional drummer, that's a hard place to get to, but that is the goal. Like, that is my goal, right? And it's hard because, like, my goal should just be, well, just be able to make a living playing the drums. But the easiest, or where I ended up was doing covers and stuff and doing weddings, but I wasn't happy doing that stuff. So making a living playing drums, well, I'm actually not making a living playing drums. I'm making a living teaching drums. But I don't feel, my butt don't hurt. Like, I don't feel bad about, or less than, for not making a living playing the drums, because I know that I could be doing it, but the way that I could be doing it what's most in reach it doesn't really make me happy at all. But I haven't quite found a way to make a living in a way that I like doing it. However, if it's not that important, I want to keep my love for the drums alive, even if it means redefining it. Like okay, you don't make a living, but doing it, but that doesn't mean it's not important. Like I don't get paid to do any of this recording stuff. I have people come over and jam with me, and we'll jam for like 2-3 hours, and we'll have footage, right, and audio that I have to mix. So I have to edit together basically these videos. After doing the audio, putting it in editing software and putting it together, and then sending it back to them once it's all edited and stuff, and then uploading it to social media just to share with people. It's free. It's free content, essentially. And why am I doing it? The only reason why I do it is because I love it. I really do love doing it. Especially when it's an authentic expression. Every time, either it's me playing or I'm jamming with somebody. For the most part, it's always an authentic expression. And there's degrees of like good or bad, or of course I make mistakes when I play and they're audible sometimes. Do I care? Not really. Am I trying to promote myself as a drummer? I mean, yeah, I guess if that's another reason for doing it, sure, that's a perk, but it's not the first reason. So the only advice I can give anybody, who's trying to make a living doing, playing drums, is define what you're not willing to do. Define an area where you don't want to be and an area where you want to be, idealistically. And then you got to weigh the realism of it. Like how real is that? And I don't want that to sound harsh, but what I mainly talk about is, do you want to be a rock star? Do you want to be famous? Like, be a little bit more real and down to earth about what you want. Because if you want to be a rock star, I mean, I don't know if rock is the road to be a rock star. Figuratively speaking, rock star. You got to do something else at this point in the game. Man, you could be an Instagram model and be a rock star these days. Define what you love about. Say out loud what you love about the instrument. Why do you continue to play every day? Why do you continue to pay? Maybe some of you pay like a studio space rent to play your drums. Why do you do it? What motivates you to do it? What gets you excited about music in general, but also your drums? Identify like even types of music, songs, specific songs, artists. Do you like recreating something like a cover? Or do you like creating something of your own? Do you like to create with others? And do it for love first. Learn how to support yourself by working so that you can give yourself music as like a thing to do for therapy, love, expression. Creativity, because I look at it like this. If you are taking care of that, basically, if you are taking care of yourself in that way, to give yourself that, and it's not a hobby, just because it doesn't consume your everyday life like a job, which could be 7 hours, 8 hours of your life every day. I think that calling it a hobby, I think it's not the right word. There isn't a word. Passion, it's your passion, but that's wide. That's very open. But yes, it's a thing that you do because you love it and you want it in your life. But at this time in history, it's people aren't going to pay you lots and lots of money to do what you want to do. So, but what you want to do takes time, commitment. It's worth it. Learn how to balance that. It makes you strong, and it makes your connection to the instrument and to that expression makes it the bond stronger. And I believe that it makes the bond and the connection to it to yourself stronger. No joke. Like that's a way of people say self-love. I think that's a way of self-love. Giving yourself the time to express yourself on the instrument that you've committed to, and play music for love reasons. I don't like when I hear players. You can hear it in the way they play that they don't love it in that moment. I can't judge them for that if they're playing a cover that they don't. You know what I mean? Because that's me. That's essentially me. That's what I was like. By the end of doing weddings and covers. So I can't, you can't judge them. But I also I can question though, like, well, why are you still doing it? And if it's for the money, you can do other things to make money. If you're happy doing it and you find it to be fun and like the money is kind of like a perk, continue doing it. Are you kidding me? Hell yeah, continue doing it. I think that those of you out there who are doing those gigs but are miserable doing them and hate doing them, but you're doing it for the money, look, think of it like this. If you could stop doing it tomorrow, right? And you're not guaranteed to it's not like it's being replaced by, oh, here's a gig doing what you love exactly how you would like it. That's unrealistic. But if let's say you can get something that you can tolerate, like a job, to make money while you're basically supporting yourself and your passion for music, think that you're making a very good decision for yourself. You're connecting yourself more with the love of music and then therefore the love for yourself. And also you're giving somebody who is so starving and hungry for the gig that you have, you're giving them you're making their life so much better by just having just that opportunity being open, potentially for, whoever gets picked for sure for that, because I know people that love it, and I don't have disrespect for them. I fully respect them and that they like it and they've defined that for themselves. I almost somewhat like sometimes I think, man, that would be nice to be okay with that. It would be nice. It would be easier just to if I can just get my fill from doing that covers and stuff. But it's hard. I've done it and I'm burnt out from it, and that's reality. So it's better off that somebody who loves it is playing that gig. I think we need more risk takers, more bold people, bold artists. Stop trying to make a buck and stop trying to be famous, man. Ask yourself, is it about the fame and the notoriety, or is it about the art? Do you want to create something truly meaningful to you? If it's truly meaningful to you and that's all you care about, I still think that's fucking awesome. And I would rather have 10 of those than 10 of, somebody creating pop songs. Whether they're good or not, I would still rather have somebody playing what's unique to them, even if I don't like the music, because it's like change is exciting in music culture. Change is always exciting. What's the next trend in pop culture, right? It's the same thing. But, and specifically though, evolution is better, I think. I want to hear the music I want to hear music evolve. In terms of the history of music, I want to hear the evolution. I'm very much into the evolution, the history of music. So anyway, I think I've talked enough. Yes, you certainly did. Anyway, thank you for listening to the episode. I will keep rambling after this for a little bit and basically say nothing. So here's me playing something on the drums at the end. So I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for listening.